medals.
All right, we mentioned some competition from earlier in the day. Carl Lewis. It was the men's 100-meter dash. Let's go back and show you how Craig and I called the qualifying heats earlier today. It's the Reebok men's 100 meters and the world record established at the World Championships in '91 by Carl Lewis of 9.86. First three in each heat and 5 fastest advance to the second round. In this heat, the Olympic champion Linford Christie in lane 7. Mark Jones was able to talk to him, and he asked him about his problems with the British media.
I don't believe in running my mouth up too much. I think that, you know, you go out there, you let your feet do the talking. That's me, and some people can't take honesty. You know, honesty hurts. You know, when you tell someone the truth, they can't hang with that. And I think, you know, saying that with the media, even so, I mean, they always win. You know, they can say what they want about you, and there's nothing, you know, you can do as a person to reply. And so, I mean, I think that, you know, I was brought up to be an honest person, and I think if you got something against someone, you say it. I mean, I don't know malice at all against anyone at all like that. And on the track, I just go out there, and there are times when you talk, there are times when you don't. Most of the time, I don't think it's worth talking. You know, if you talk a good race and you go out and you lose, you're in trouble. So I just go out there and let my feet do the talking.
So Linford Christie, now the target of Carl Lewis here, Craig.
Well, the target of all the sprinters in the world is the reigning Olympic champion. I like what Carl says. Carl calls him the greatest European sprinter of all time. I think they say that's a diss.
Lane 1 will be empty. Gustavo ENVELA has scratched from this heat. This will be the first confrontation between Christie and Lewis, but this is Stephen Lewis of Montserrat in lane 5. Christie's in 7th. Christie away nicely. Carlo of Romania and Christie. And it'll be Christie to the next round.
The kind of run you would expect from the reigning Olympic champion, run with total confidence and composure. I find it so amusing that Christie says he doesn't like the talk. He's the man that says he has 3 million British women watching track and field on television.
Letting his feet do the talking, Christie easily into the next round. This is a qualifying heat in the Reebok men's 100 meters. Andre Cason, the focus here. He'll be in lane 5, trying to redeem himself this summer after suffering that torn calf muscle in the heats of the Olympic trials last year, unable to compete in Barcelona. A couple other names to note in this particular heat. Sanguma, the national record holder of France, will be in lane 1. Wayne Watson of Jamaica, former NCAA Division II national champion, in lane 8. But Craig, what a moment this is for Andre Cason.
You know, Brent, it's been a long way back for Andre Cason since that injury at the Olympic trials. He said he's now taking an approach whereby he prevents injuries by not giving them room to happen, runs fewer races, points towards the big ones. In '91, he was the world indoor champion, but he wants to be an outdoor champion as well.
Lane 5. Cason away beautifully, rolled out of the blocks on top. It's Andre Cason. Andre Cason with Saguma in lane 1. Cason coming across. 10.08, the fastest qualifying time so far.
And one of the fastest first-round 100-meter races in Olympic or World Championship history. An outstanding run for Andre Cason. Obviously wanting to make a statement in this first round. Only a slight wind at his back. Brent, for .10 reaction time is the legal limit. He comes out at .115. It just shows you why he had that early lead over everybody in the race. Tremendous power out of the blocks. He says he has an advantage at the start, in part because of good genetics, his words, but because he's a compact person, he can get into his running position earlier than other people. That gives him an immediate advantage.
An impressive qualifying heat. Let's go to Mark Jones with Andre.
Andre, an extremely fast time for a heat. How'd you feel about your race?
Well, I just want to relax and go through the motions, execute, and focus on myself. That's what I've been doing throughout the year. That's what I'm going to do here.
How do you feel about your first major outdoor championship title hopes?
Well, I feel good about it. So like I said.
Well, it's Carl Lewis's turn. Already his two American teammates have qualified for the second round. And now our first look at the man who has a record 8 gold medals at the World Championships.
Tremendous crowd reaction to the introduction of Carl Lewis, and he says he loves being put on the spot, wishes there were an Olympics or World Championships every month of the year, Brent.
Lane 5 is empty. This Mangles of France with 2 false starts. Barefooted runner from Nauru over in lane 1, Frederick Cannon. Carl Lewis, now 32 years old. Lane 8. Lewis off to a poor start, but now starting to roll. Lewis has to come hard here at the end, and he does. With that closing kick of Lewis, 10.15, all 3 of the Americans make it easily to the next round.
No aiding wind at all as Carl's mother on the right opens her eyes and applauds his victory. Carl, the master at measuring out his effort through the qualifying round so that he's fit for the final.
Carl Lewis leading the way in that heat with Mark Blume of Germany and Atle Mahorn of Canada also qualifying. Mark Jones has found Carl.
Carl, from a technical standpoint, how'd you feel about your race?
Felt very good. I thought I ran a great race. I didn't react well, and that happens when you have those false starts, but I felt I ran great. I'm looking forward to running some more.
Tell us quickly about your neck and your back. Did it feel tight or is it okay?
I feel a lot better today. Like I said, I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but I feel very good today. I feel relaxed, and that race looked good. I just didn't really react to the gun that well. But the main thing is just to run well and get through this. And I want to say, like I know millions of people in the world, I want to send my condolences to the Jordans because I understand that situation. You know, I've lost my father, and just keep your faith and stay strong.
Andre Cason with the fastest qualifying time. Note that Raymond Stewart of Jamaica, Daniel Effiong of Nigeria, and the Canadian Bruni Surin also advanced. Coming up now on the Track and Field Championships, the men's 100 meters. And a look at Andre Cason. Could this be Andre's year? Here in the history of track and field, and just now, people are starting to appreciate his records. In the 100 meters, he holds the world record, 9.86, set in 1991. Was unable to qualify because of illness a year ago for the Olympics in this event, and here he is in his second heat of the day. The top 4 go to the semifinals tomorrow. Lewis will be in lane 5.
Brent, when Carl Lewis won his heat earlier today, it was one of the first times all season he crossed the finish line first in 100 meters. He's been on a losing streak in finals of 100 meter races this year. He says that doesn't matter. This is the race that counts.
Lewis with a little better start than in his first heat today, but now he trails, starting to come on here over the final 50 meters. Carl Lewis, look at that, easily to the semifinals.
And running against a significant wind, almost 1 meter per second into his face. But as you point out, an easy run for Carl Lewis.
Carl Lewis wins his second heat of the day easily.
Carl, looks like you started a little better than you did in your first race today.
Yeah, today was the kind of race I need to run in the final. This race gives me a lot of confidence. Even the race this morning gave me a lot of confidence. Now all I have to do is just run the race I ran today, tomorrow, and I think I'll do very well.
In our next heat, it'll be interesting to see if a Linford Christie makes any kind of a statement after Dennis Mitchell turned in his 10.08. Carl Lewis with a 10.11. Christie in lane 6, the reigning Olympic champion.
Linford Christie, the captain of the British track and field team. One observer said that's like letting the poacher become the gamekeeper. A controversial spokesperson for the British team.
Christie rolls out of lane 6. Surin of Canada in lane 3 with a strong start too. It's Surin and Christie. Surin and Christie will go 1-2. Christie catches him 10.01. There's the statement.
He said he wanted to let his feet do the talking, and that's his answer to Dennis Mitchell's 10.08. But it was quite a battle with Surin from Canada.
And the official time for Linford Christie is 10 flat. In our next heat, Andre Casson will start from lane 3, Frank Frederickson lane 5. Julie Moran took a close look at Andre Casson, one of our premier sprinters.
think the 100 meters is, to a degree, an equivalent to the heavyweight champion of the world. You can lose every other race throughout the course of the year. But if you win something such as the Olympic Games, such as the World Championships, you're the fastest man in the world. You're the fastest man on the planet.
When Andre Cason was growing up in Virginia Beach, the fastest man on the planet was Carl Lewis, and he began to realize that one day, idol would become rival.
There's not a sprinter that's my age or a couple years older than me that's not been in awe every time Carl Lewis has run on television. But if I idolize Carl, I'm going to be at a deficit. If I idolize anyone, when I line up against him, I'm at a deficit. I took him off the pedestal that I had once put him on because I knew there was going to come a point in time where he and I were going to line up, and it would be a race to be on that pedestal. And it's this year.
But last year, Cason's career almost ended when he tore his calf muscle at the Olympic trials in New Orleans.
I think at about 40 meters, I just saw like a blue light, and I just felt pain from my heel to the back of my head. And it's something that I wouldn't want my worst enemy to experience.
With a renewed commitment to his sport and his personal life, Andre married his high school sweetheart. They're expecting a child next month.
Track is really what he's always wanted to do, and I think really he's focusing on it a lot more. Of course, he's married now, and he's happy.
Andre Cason is back with a different diet, a new weight program, and an innovative new coach, Lauren Seagrave, who emphasizes psychology, intensity, and technique.
You're trying to prepare the foot to hit the ground by grabbing it back underneath the body. And by doing that, there's less braking forces.
Lauren is just so precise that, you know, sometimes it makes you scream.
Cason has never been more prepared to run a race. Now comes Stuttgart and the World Championships.
Brent, I like what Cason says about the 100-meter final being like a heavyweight championship of the world. He said he couldn't even watch the Olympic final because he was so upset about that injury he sustained at the U.S. Olympic trials.
Well, we've got a championship brewing here now. The official time of Christie, 10 flat. Now it's Cason. Breaking out of lane 3 at 10:09 earlier. Cason and Fredericks. Here comes Cason. Cason 9.97.
That's the fastest time in the world this year against a slight headwind. And you could tell he was doing something special because Frank Fredericks, the Olympic silver medalist, was struggling in his weight.
Andre Cason blazes at 9.96, the fastest 100 meters of the year.
All right, Julia, we have thunder, we have lightning here in Stuttgart, but I'm not talking about the weather. I'm talking about this guy right here, Andre Cason. Andre, you ran a 10:09, a 9.96. Can you go faster tomorrow? Have you burnt yourself out?
Well, I'm sure that I'm not burnt out. I think I could run faster if I would just concentrate on and relax. I'm really not projecting to run any faster times. I'm just projecting to go out and relax and do what God gave me the ability to do.
Now, this is a bit of a new situation for you. You're regarded as an indoor sprinter. You're in a new situation here where you're outdoors. This is the first major world title for you. Has that weighed on your mind a lot?
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. If I let other people, if I let the media get to me, I would be pretty much a basket case. I just try to stay focused on myself and what I'm doing and listening to my coach and the close people that are surrounding me, and everything works out.
What kind of time wins it tomorrow?
I have no idea. I never put any barriers on a 100-meter final.
Well, Andre, you got out of the blocks quickly and just like you did right there, and good luck tomorrow. I mean, you really came out here. The start really is the key to your race, isn't it?
Well, no, it's the key is putting myself in a running position at a good point in the race and then accelerating and executing all the movements.
All right, thanks a lot for joining us, and once again, good luck tomorrow, Andre Cason. Good luck with that world title.
Thanks.
All right.
Hey, can I say hello to my wife?
Thank you very much, and yes, Andre, we'll say hello for you to your wife. And welcome, everybody, to Gottlieb Daimler Stadion. It's time soon for the men's 100-meter final. Welcome, everybody. With Carol Lewis, I'm Brent Musburger. Carol, first things first, how about your brother Carl? Is he ready tonight?
Well, he's always prided himself in being ready for the big championships, and I think he's going to be ready tonight, and I'm definitely sitting on pins and needles.
Our Julie Moran had an opportunity to take a close look at the world record holder.
Whether running the 100 or 200-meter dash or the 4x100-meter relay, Carl Lewis has almost always come out on top. With an extraordinary career that has seen world records come and go, and even come again, Lewis can easily be called the greatest sprinter of all time.
Sprinters are wimps. I mean, a real man's a long jumper, okay?
If indeed that's the case, then Lewis's credentials in his favorite event are no less honorable. He won the long jump in the past 3 Olympics, bringing his total gold medal count to 8. But he's 32 now, and some are wondering if the real man isn't becoming an old man.
It's a challenge to be at the point where people say you're too old to do this. And now it's not as easy to get up for every meet. I mean, and I lose a lot more races now, but I'm not any more worried about it because I know when the big meets come, I'll be ready to run.
For example, take last year's Olympic 4x100-meter relay. Lewis did not make the team, but when injury left an open spot, he rose to the occasion and anchored the U.S. to a new world record.
It makes it easier the fact that I have nothing else to prove. And as far as I'm concerned, I've done everything that I guess most people feel, but I still feel I can get better, and that's the only thing I have to prove to myself. But that doesn't create the same pressure as saying I've got to go out and I have to run fast because everyone expects me to. I have to run fast or run well because I expect it of myself. I'd be crazy to say it isn't great to be running track and field and earning a living at it, a good living, and it's no different than what I did when I was 7.
His toys now include a collection of fast and classic cars. Carl Lewis has come a long way since he first caught the world's attention.
I've become much more mature as a person. I'm bigger physically, and I've been through an entire career and more since then. But I've been able to look back and look at every experience as a very positive experience in my life, and I've matured as a human being, and I think that's the most important thing. And I feel that I'm a better person because of my life at 32 than I was at 19. And I look back and I say, you know, I was just a little kid back in a little place in New Jersey, and I grew up and I've become the athlete that I am. I'm very thankful. You know, a lot of times you can achieve success, but you're all alone. I've been able to share it with everybody. But the main thing is that I feel that I've exceeded anything that I ever could have dreamed of out of this little kid back in New Jersey, and never would have thought that any of this would have happened. And I'm very happy and thankful for all of that.
And the world record holder hopes to win this world championship for the 4th straight time, a 4-peat. But what speed here, Craig, in this heat? Cason, Fredericks, Lewis, and Effiong right there in the middle.
I think that's a big disadvantage for these runners. It means they have to run a little bit harder against one another. Linford Christie in the second semifinal has an easier go of it. Plus, being in the first semifinal, they have to decide, do they want to make a statement by trying to run fast in the first semifinal and sending a message to Christie?
Cason's in 3, Lewis is in 5. Cason not away as strongly as he was yesterday. Effiong of Nigeria. Now Cason starting to roll. Here comes the Lewis finish. And 4 move on to the final. The 4 you would expect.
994 unofficially, Brent. He improves yet again, a personal best for Andre Cason in the semifinal. Only a slight win behind, and Daniel Effiong thrusts himself into the picture. He's in the green on the left. Next to him is Lewis. Then Frank Fredericks, the Olympic silver medalist, and over on the right is Andre Cason. Cason, as you mentioned, did not have as good a start as he did in the second round, but he did accelerate extremely well. Lewis comes on towards the end, but the man who seems to run better than he has in the earlier races is Effiong on the left, who looked like he got up for second place with 994, outstanding time.
Carl Lewis in 3rd at 10:02, but that is Carl's fastest time of the year. But can anybody beat Andre? Let's go to Mark Jones.
Andre, you keep going faster, faster, and faster. You seem extremely focused.
Well, that's the goal, to remain focused and to remain relaxed. And just have one more river to cross.
In this semi-final, a couple of fellows who hooked up in Barcelona. Dennis Mitchell, the bronze, Linford Christie, the gold. So for the first time in this World Championship, Great Britain squares off against the United States in the Reebok men's 100 meters.
There's Christie, 33 years old. Back in 1986 on this track, he won the European Championships. That was his first title.
They'll run side by side. Mitchell in 3, Christie in 4. Christie and Mitchell. Christie and Mitchell with SV of Canada. Now it is Christie, the gold medalist. Christie puts a 9.97 on the board.
A little bit of a stronger wind at his back. He says he's stronger than ever and feels better than ever in training. He seemed a little bit lazy out of the blocks there as Mitchell, third from the right of the screen, had the better start. Mitchell has looked better as the rounds have gone on and maybe a serious challenger in the final. But Christie, whose coach Ron Rodden says he has perfect form, really came on at the end. Not as quick a turnover as he had in the second round yesterday, but very strong towards the finish.
Linford Christie getting stronger as the competition moves on. 10 flat yesterday and a 9.97 in the semi. Now here is the field for the finals. Andre Cason, Linford Christie, Daniel Effiong, and Carl Lewis were the 4 fastest times. I think you can hear the crowd. They are getting ready for the heavyweight championship, the men's 100-meter.
It's just an amazing atmosphere. The athletes are going to have to feel the energy in the crowd. The interesting thing is that we're going to have to see, are the London odds makers right? They say Linford Christie's a 9-4 favorite, 2-1 on Cason. Lewis is at 5-1.
I think Andre Cason has looked unbeatable here, though.
It's about time you went on record, Brent. Yeah, he's just been so good through the trials, and now with you see him in the semifinal, he became the 7th fastest man ever, but has he given too much? I went with King Carl back in June. I'm going to have to stay with him. He's going to have to come up with a great race.
Greg, you took a very interesting look at the personalities and the styles of our leading finalists in the men's 100-meter. Let's take a look.
Sprinters operate in a narrow corridor of space and time, living their lives in fast forward. Their existence is defined by hundredths of seconds. How they approach their craft says a lot about them as individuals. From their pre-race demeanor to their running form to their post-race celebrations. Each race is a window into their sporting soul. Carl Lewis is businesslike and efficient before the race. The most patient of all 100-meter runners, he maintains his speed best when others falter at the finish. Linford Christie is a throwback to an earlier generation when sprinters were like gunfighters, strutting and posturing before and after the race. Mid-race, his eyes widen and almost bulge out of his head as if he's surprised by his awesome speed. The zen of Andre Cason dictates that he bottle up his motivation before a race. At the start, he literally explodes out of the blocks and snatches the lead. Businessman, throwback, Zen master. It will take less than 10 seconds for one of these 3 or another to become the world's fastest human.
Team 3 has just been introduced to this sellout crowd. There you see Surin of Canada. Carl, of course, a huge favorite. There's the Olympic champion, Linford Christie of Great Britain in lane 4, right next to Carl. Daniel Effiong of Nigeria is in lane 5. And it is Cason in lane 6. Cason has ripped off incredible heats here so far. 9.94 in his semifinal. He is right next to Dennis Mitchell in lane 7. So all 3 of the American sprinters have qualified for the final. Raymond Stewart of Jamaica is the 8th sprinter. He is in lane 8, Craig.
There he is, number 729. There's Daniel Effiong. He's the dark horse in this race, Brent. If somebody's going to come from out of the blue to win this race, it's Effiong. Only started running 3 years ago. Goes to Central Arizona College.
Now here is Cason trying to redeem himself after that lost year. He considered quitting sprinting because of that leg injury. Originally, the leg was put in a cast. There's the world record. Carl Lewis, 9.86. Cason being introduced to the crowd right now. So there are your lane assignments. Craig, let me ask you about Lewis and Christie being side by side.
Well, that's interesting. Also interesting, lane 2, Surin, the fast starter. Lane 6, Cason, the fast starter. The fast starters will be on the outside vision of both Christie and Lewis. They know they'll get out more slowly. What they've got to do is maintain their composure, because if they panic, they'll lose their form, and that's when the fast starters will get away from them.
of the things that was different is that Cason is now out on top in lane 6. In his previous races, he had shot out. Christie broke beautifully in lane 4. That gave him just a little bit of an advantage right now.
Christie had one of the fastest reaction times in the race, and he could sense that Cason wasn't out as quickly. That got him going. Carl Lewis on the right of the screen, concentrating on his lane, trying to make up for the fact that his start was not one of his better this year. Christie rising to the occasion as it comes to the end of the race and lifting his arms in triumph.
Linford, the second fastest time of all time, 9.87. Were you worried that you had the fast starters on the outside of you? You really held form.
Well, no, not really. I mean, I was watching the last semi, and I knew that Effian got out before Andre. So I was just glad I was next to someone who was going to get out quick. I would have liked to have been in the middle, but it didn't really matter.
Do you feel vindicated? People said that you won Barcelona without Carl Lewis there. Do you feel vindicated with this victory?
Well, no, not really. You know, at the end of the day, the history books are not going to say Carl wasn't there. They're going to say Linford Christie, Olympic champion. So, you know, the times have done it. It's in the books. I've got the medal. No one can take that away from me.
You're the world champ. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Can I just say hello to my brother and my sisters out there in New York? Love you all.
Carl, you said you had nothing to prove in this race, but I'm sure you have to be disappointed with 4th.
Well, a little bit. I mean, this hasn't been an easy year for me. I mean, I'm building a house. I have a lot of distractions, but the biggest thing is that I wanted to come here and run the best I could for the United States. I did that, but there's no question I'll be back. I've had down years like this in the past, and I've been in a lot of big races, and I know what it'll take to get back.
All right. Thanks a lot, Carl.
All right, great.
A blistering 100-meter final. Linford Christie, still the world's fastest human. Let's go to Mark Jones.
Andre, congratulations, Andre. You run a 9.92, a personal best, but you come in second. How do you feel?
I feel great because last year I was in a cast about this time. I was rehabilitating my Achilles tendon. I just thank God that I'm able to come out and perform today. I give God all the praise because a silver medal is not bad. I set a personal record for myself, and I improved throughout the rounds. So Andre Cason is back.
Question about the Reebok Athlete of the Day. He's the world's fastest human, Linford Christie. You know what he said? I get a buzz out of hearing God Save the Queen. You don't hear that as much as the American national anthem when you come to a World Track and Field Championship. Christie. Well, for Linford Christie, here it was, his moment again in the spotlight. Juan Antonio Samaranch drapes the gold medal around the neck and the Union Jack in the background. And there the silver medalist, Andre Cason. What a year he's put together. And our bronze medalist, Mitchell.